of get on board with it. And now we have about 19.
Now, this is all since last year, right?
Yes, about a year.
This is fantastic. You've done so well in a year. I mean, it actually is becoming really sustainable, and can support people and families and everything else. So, okay, so once you kind of got started, then, so tell people how you decide what you're going to grow. I mean, aside from it just being the season, how do you decide what you're going to grow?
Well, we have a huge seed bank in stock, and so we just pick from that. We try to do crop rotation, so it varies from year to year what we grow. We try to grow a lot of things that people are familiar with, the obvious things like corn and squash and tomatoes. And then we try to grow a few specialty things to introduce people to different types of produce. So it really just depends on the year and the weather as to what we grow.
So what kind of specialty things are you growing now during this time of year?
Well, right now, Laura has planted some really interesting heirloom squash. And believe it or not, we're about to harvest it this week. Which is the earliest I've ever seen squash. So it's a type of straight-neck yellow squash, and it's very pretty. So you'll be seeing that on Friday.
Wow. Well, that's fantastic. I can't wait. So what are the things you've grown up there now? I mean, got the squash. I know I get my spinach, and I get beets, which are fabulous, and Swiss chard, and some onions. And you also grow herbs. Talk about your herbs that you have up there, Alice.
We have a lot of herbs. I really enjoy cooking, so I try to always have a variety. Right now we have parsley, basil, which is coming on, cilantro that's just leaving, unfortunately. We have sage, oregano, thyme, rosemary, and dill right now.
And I noticed that in this last batch you actually gave me some tarragon, some fabulous looking tarragon.
Yes, we have Texas tarragon.
Yeah, it was big. It wasn't the fragile French variety. Well, that's wonderful. So, are you operating for people year-round?
We are. We usually take February off to kind of regroup and rest a little bit. But other than that, we're 11 months out of the year.
So, are you organic? I mean, that's a question everybody's going to want to know. Is, are you guys organic?
We are not certified organic, but we do practice organic farming techniques. We lean more towards sustainability. We don't use any pesticides or herbicides or anything like that at all. Basically, we plant enough for the pests, including children, dogs and cats, and other bugs. And we practice crop rotation. I think I mentioned that. And we actually also use our cats and dogs for pest control because they hunt gophers and things like that.
So that's great. So I noticed from Laura's bio that she actually was learning about mushrooms and all that kind of business. Are you guys going to be putting mushrooms in your boxes too?
We are, yes. As soon as we get the hang of the climate in Bangor, we are going to have some specialty mushrooms. She wants to do shiitake mushrooms in particular, and oyster mushrooms too.
Oh, that'll be great to have that kind of variety and stuff you can't find in the store. How about heirlooms? Are you growing any heirlooms up there?
We are. Mentioned squash. We have winter and summer heirloom squash. We also have some really interesting tomatoes that are going to be an heirloom variety, and some other zucchinis and things like that. So.
Now that spinach that I keep talking about, is that like a standard spinach, or what kind of spinach is that? You have to understand these leaves are like 6 inches long and about 4 inches wide. They're just amazing. What kind of spinach is that?
I believe that was the long thumb spinach. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but I had several varieties of spinach, and I was actually surprised that it got as big as it did.
Yeah, it looked like the fairies and the divas were well at work in that one. So talk about what you got your name from. How did your farm get its name?
Well, Jaw Farms was named by me and my ex for Jaw is another name for God, and it follows along with the Rastafarian faith. which I'm the only one on the farm that is. And so it basically, we believe in oneness and community and natural living. And so that's why we named it Chuck Farm.
Nice. So are there other ways that you're involved with community in that way, or is it just sort of more of a sort of your religion and your practice that way?
Well, it's more of a lifestyle, I would say, than a religion. And we are very involved with the community, not so much as Rastas, but just as members of the community. And we talked about sustainability before, and some of our neighbors have been really instrumental in our sustainability. I'd like to mention our neighbor Bob Link, who provides us all of our guano. And without that, we wouldn't have that giant spinach or squash in May. And it's really, he has just been such a blessing. And we basically do a trade with him for a box. And I get truckloads of guano. And he has a squash farm about a mile away from us, and it just makes excellent fertilizer.
Oh, well, how fantastic is that? So that's a great idea. So I'm thinking, when you think guano, I'm thinking that you're talking about bats.
Yeah.
But it's basically bird manure then.
Yes.
Okay, so people could actually have pigeons and pigeon manure, and that would fall into the same category, right?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, how fun is that? I actually know some friends that have pigeons, so that's a great idea. So you guys go and trade back and forth. What are some of the other things that you do in terms of community, Alice, and being connected with your neighbors?
Well, a few weekends ago we did the Bangor Community Barbecue. It was the 69th annual, which I thought was pretty special. And it was the first one I have attended. And there was at least 500 people there, which is greater than the population of Bangor itself.
Where do they all fit? I can't even imagine that many people up there.
We have a giant community park and center there, and it's just wonderful. So we do a lot of things like that. We also work very closely with Hickman Family Vineyards, who is a local winery right around the corner from us in Bangor. And they have some amazing wines, and we're often found over there pouring wine, pairing foods with our local produce, and it makes it a very interesting partnership.
Yeah, that infamous fudge and wine pairings that day, and they were very sort of supportive of the community. They had other vendors, and I remember there's someone who did jewelry and made the little things, the wine glass, little jewelry, and so there was a great thing. And I think the other thing that's really interesting about them, and I'd actually like to have them on air with me, is that they do biodynamic growing of their grapes, and I think also their wine process, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So are you guys going to be doing part of the Sierra Oro Farm Trail this year?
We are going to be at the Hickman Family Vineyards that day, or that weekend, representing our CSA and supporting the Hickmans on their trail.
I want to sneak out and go down to your house and see the farm.
Yes, you should definitely come by and see us.
That's a great thing. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about can you go and have special requests from people? Will you take special requests? Like if I said I wanted some, exotic something or other, would you grow it?
We do. In fact, Geraldine asked me to grow bok choy, and so I did. And it made an appearance in the CSA. You may or may not have gotten any because it was a small yield, but definitely we love to try new things.
I would love to have some bok choy. So now, okay, so obviously the season of lettuce and greens is kind of going away right now, right? We're going into the sort of summer vegetables.
We are. The greens are going away, unfortunately, but we do try to have the salad mix year-round. That's one of our specialties, is that beautiful salad mix with the different varieties of lettuce in it. And so basically we try to grow it in the shade, and we try to keep it all year round. But the greens, definitely, the kale and the chard are on their way out.
Yeah, I wanted to see if it wasn't possible in some way to go and make it so that it could happen, again in some way, so that it kind of reproduces, like you say, in the shade or in some kind of other way. So I'm wondering if you had any special secrets aside from just shade.
Yeah, you just have to keep it cool since it's a cool weather thing. So we have some dedicated gardens for our things that we're trying to grow out of season.
Nice. Now, do you start your seeds in advance? I mean, how do you kind of make this farm? Because now you're working with, how many people do you figure your farm is providing produce for now? 19 share boxes, but how many people does that translate into?
Well, there are between 2 to 3 people per share, I would say. And we also see the people that live on the farm. I have 2 children, Ben and Laura, and myself. I think we could probably sustain 60 or 75 people if they were just living on the farm, say. And then to answer your first question, we do start seeds in a greenhouse in the wintertime and really get a jump on the season. There's also some seeds that do better when you sow them directly, like the squash and the cucurbits, like cucumbers and things like that. They don't transplant well. So we do both.
Yeah, I found that out. My cucumbers didn't do so well at all when I tried transplanting them. I thought being so clever, but that didn't work out so well.
They're very tender.
Yeah, oh my God. So, all right. So with that, are you going to be doing all kinds of different cucumbers, like the Armenian and the pickling and all that business?
Yes, we planted a lot of lemon cucumbers, which are my favorite, which are the round, tennis ball yellow color. And those pickle very well.
Oh, nice.
If you've ever tried that. We're also growing the pickling cucumbers and the long, glossy green ones. And that's about it for cucumbers. We have 3 varieties.
Oh, good. Now, are you going to go and, I know you've made a pesto sauce a couple of times and some various, other interesting things, which I just love. Are you going to make pickles for us in those boxes as well? Or give us pickling recipes? How's that going to work?
Oh, that's a great idea. I think we might have to do that.
Make pickles. That means I have less to do.
Yes, that's right. And you can also make pickles out of zucchini.
Wow.
Yes, you can actually pickle pretty much anything, but it's a great way to use your zucchini, which you're probably going to get a lot of. It does well.
Right. And then how about kimchi? Do you help people make kimchi, which is a type of a cabbage?
I've never made that.
Because again, it's a fermented, food, and so many times people say the fermented foods are really good for you. So
they are very good for your digestion. Well, unfortunately, cabbage is a winter crop, so we'll have to try that next year.